Along the line of Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane and Steve Coleman, we can add further notable musicians. I will name a few examples, beginning with Louis Armstrong. He was born in 1901 and grew up in the African-American subculture of New Orleans. However, his groundbreaking recordings of the 1920s were made in Chicago. There he worked with the pianist Earl Hines, among others. Earl Hines was an outstanding exponent of a long tradition of improvised rhythmical piano playing. Duke Ellington came from the same tradition and developed a kind of big band jazz in New York at that time, integrating techniques from New Orleans into his dance band music. In the 1930s, Count Basie brought a version of big band jazz from Kansas City to New York that was bluesy, elegant, and had an intense swing vibe. A few years later, Charlie Parker moved from Kansas City to New York. That was where he heard Art Tatum, an older pianist and unsurpassable master of the piano-playing tradition I mentioned before, who impressed Charlie Parker deeply. Parker made friends with the trumpet player Dizzy Gillespie, another master. Gillespie's colleague, Thelonious Monk, developed a very unique style of piano playing, full of dissonance, which still maintained a magical coherence. Miles Davis made a name for himself as a young trumpet player in the Charlie Parker Band. Later, he himself led influential bands and frequently enchanted large audiences with his sense for aesthetics. In the 1950s, his band included first tenor saxophonist Sonny Rollins and later John Coltrane. Sonny Rollins was then the most respected tenor saxophonist of his generation, and particularly at that time, his playing was refined and elegant. Saxophonist Ornette Coleman appeared in the late 1950s, who also followed Charlie Parker but had an elemental and unconventional approach. This made him a leading figure for the new movement known as free jazz. Even Coltrane and Sonny Rollins took inspiration from him when looking for ways to expand their music. Ornette Coleman, however, was never a master of the jazz tradition, and opinions of his work remained divided. We can add many more musicians along the Armstrong, Parker, Coltrane, Steve Coleman line who are more or less connected to it, and whose significance differs in relation to it. If you spread the net a little wider still, there unfolds a broad picture of jazz history. The line lends consistency to the whole story and prevents you from ending up in a dead end when looking at the development of jazz. For example, there was one European jazz critic who understood free jazz as the pinnacle and endpoint of jazz history, leading him to regard jazz as being in severe crisis. But if you keep the line in mind, then free jazz is simply an expansion of the jazz spectrum into extreme areas. Presenting jazz history based on significant people is much more realistic and lively than separating jazz into the different styles that are so often referred to in the jazz literature, such as swing, bebop, cool jazz, free jazz, fusion, and so on. Terms such as these can sometimes prove useful in naming trends, tendencies, scenes, waves in the music business, and so on. If, however, you understand them as styles and use them to categorize jazz in its entirety, then they are misleading. The next video deals with fundamental qualities of the great jazz masterpieces.